Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jenn Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hey, welcome to another great podcast. This is Melanie Johnson, along with my business partner, Jenn Foster. Hi, Jenn.
Hey, everyone. It's a wonderful day today.
It's a great day to be here listening to this fabulous podcast. We have something new and exciting. You know what? New and exciting is starting over. People are leaving their jobs. They're trying to figure out what they want to do in life. Maybe they're tired of the grind. And have you ever thought about doing a franchise? I mean, outside of even like the Burger Kings and the Chick-fil-A's, and there's thousands of different franchises out there. How do you get started? How do you choose which one you want to go into? Is it a good fit for you? So we're going to answer those questions today. We have Giuseppe here with us today, who is going to help us with all of that. Thanks, Giuseppe. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, Jenn. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Well, tell us, how did you get into the franchise industry and how did you start into this?
Yeah, so the short version is I was not happy with my career. Worked a lot of hours, 5-hour commute into New York City, and with a baby, my first son on the way. So I knew I needed to make a change, explored other jobs to realize, I grew up in the restaurant business. I loved owning a business, loved the kind of the flexibility, just didn't like the hours. So I needed to really find out what that business was. So through working with a coach years ago, back in 2005, we figured out I like systems in place. I'm not a creative kind of creating from scratch, and franchising was the perfect fit for me. And then it was basically finding out what the franchise was so that I could truly create the life I wanted, which was still today. I'm a soccer coach, dad. Typically don't work nights and weekends. So that's wanted to kind of make a change in my life.
Yeah. And, some people think that getting into franchise can be expensive. I know there's upfront cost. So you've got to have money in your pocket, it sounds like, to begin with. Walk us through like how you get started even on that journey.
Yeah. So you definitely money, like in any business, right? There's going to be startup expense. So there's two ways to look at it. With a franchise, you are paying for a license to essentially have not ownership, but they give you the system, right? The policies, procedures, the CRM, the marketing, and things like that. So there is a one-time franchise fee. There's all the other fees that you incur owning a business, and then typically an ongoing royalty. On the flip side, with a startup, you don't have a franchise fee, but you are learning based off your own trial and error. So maybe you hire or put up a website that was the wrong website that needs to get redesigned. So you need to, you incur that additional fee. But the biggest thing is speed to market. And I'm an investor by trade. That's my original background, was in the investment space. And it's a time value of money. And I see most people that have startup ideas sitting on their laptop, and they're sitting on that laptop for over a decade, not doing anything with it. So a franchise is almost like a springboard, kind of a way or a stepping stone to get into entrepreneurship, have the franchise company kind of help you through and start generating revenue. Typically you can open up from training to opening your doors in a service-based model in 30 to 45 days. Wow. And guess what? Your next business can be now that you're motivated to actually open up and do that startup. So there's great options, but yes, there's always a fee, but you have that fee just like in any business. It's just how you measure what that fee is. And, you look at loss of revenue in business by sitting on a business plan for so long.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the different types of franchises. Cause I know, when you think of franchise, everyone thinks McDonald's, right? Then they think Burger King and all the big box restaurants. But what about non-restaurants, right? Like what about the franchises that have nothing to do with food?
Yeah, so there's 4,000 franchise companies roughly in the United States, and it's in every industry and every investment level. So we have franchises that are B2B small business coaching, helping people through the pandemic, helping business owners pivot. We have franchises around home services. That's been huge with people being kind of stuck at home and maybe now working from home. So mosquito spraying, residential cleaning, roofing, landscaping, and things like that. And then we shift to porta potty franchises, employment services, obviously have your food, your gyms, and things like that. So every industry, even picking up pet waste, that's a franchise. So you literally have a franchise in just about every industry and every investment level.
I think that's interesting. I just started at a gym where I work out in a sauna. So it's a hot sauna, infrared heat. And I noticed on the app when I was logging in that they have stores or they have workout areas in the UK and Australia and the US. And I was just thinking, wow, I didn't even know of this company. And they've been around for quite a while and they're a huge franchise.
Right.
And I'm sure that, it's not too hard to become a franchisee of that company. And I just thought, wow, like I don't even think of that when I think of owning a franchise. You don't think about just a small little gym that's bringing in a ton of revenue from people's monthly memberships.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Most people don't realize it. There's a system, there's a backbone in place to really help that business owner. And that helps with kind of that springboard in becoming profitable, cash flow positive, but just also to be successful because you have that franchisor in your corner. But it's not always a fit for everyone. As good as that sounds, I'm not a salesman or a pitch person for franchising. It is a unfair advantage, as I coined the phrase, but it is definitely not a fit for everyone, depending on what you're looking for as that next step.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I mean, I love that it's like business in a box. You get everything for you, all the systems, all the procedures. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is creating all those systems and procedures. But what are the pitfalls? I mean, I hear someone's like, I ran across somebody and they're like, oh, it's like snake oil being in a franchise. You think you're just going to open it up and it's going to automatically make money. And that's not true. There's so many that don't succeed. So walk us through the pitfalls and what it takes to succeed.
So I'll answer this way. So a franchise is a proven business model, but not all franchises are built the same. So as far as, pitfalls and things like that, I think first off, you need to decide if a franchise is a good fit. So you have two options. Do you want the business built for you? And yes, there's franchise and licensing, but just to keep the conversation simple, you either want the business built for you or you want to create everything from the logo to the product to the service offering. And that's where you have to make that decision. So I don't even consider pros and cons. It's more of what do you value? Do you value the support or do you want to create it? We get past that. We decide a system in place is what I am looking for. So we look at franchising. Then now you have to do proper due diligence. So what it's kind of a mindset shift, right? So when you're looking at a franchise, you hear of franchises go under and franchisees, right? The actual person that invested in that particular franchise. Some franchise companies are just not built for a large system. They have a great product or service, but they don't have the infrastructure to support the franchisees. So when someone is doing their due diligence, they need to not only talk to the franchisor, but they need to speak with the franchisees. And that's the kind of the secret sauce in the due diligence process. I spoke with a good friend of mine struggling right now with his franchise and decided to do it on his own. I said, how many franchisees did you speak with? He said, one. And I said, well, unfortunately, that's not what, we recommend at least 5, 10, if not more, to get a good sampling and to hear the $1 million question is, knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again? So yeah, some franchises have a great system, but maybe the service is a fad. Maybe it's just something that's hot now and then gone tomorrow. So, but at the end of the day, you need to pick the franchisee that's a good fit for you. You need to do your due diligence. You need to envision yourself in the role. So just because you love health and beauty and you get into an eyelash extension franchise, or something along those lines because you are a customer, I would challenge you to say, okay, what's the role of the franchisee? If it's to go out and network, chamber of commerce and things like that, not actually the service, but getting out there, and you're an introvert, you don't like doing that, that's going to be a struggle. So right there, because you didn't do that due diligence, maybe you didn't know to ask that question, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, not because the franchisor is not as solid, but because it's not a good fit for you. And in other cases, yes, you fall in love with the product. The franchisor has a great story, and they just don't have maybe the financials to truly back up and support you. So ask your local franchisees, both in and around your area, and get some really unbiased feedback.
What would you say is like the ideal person to be a franchisee? Like if I want to go and be a franchisee and invest in different franchises, what kind of qualities, what kind of things do I need to have in order to do that? And then what is my role? Like you were talking about that for a minute. So kind of walk us through both of those. Like what is the role? Because I think a lot of myths people have like, oh, well, I'll just own this franchise and I'll have a manager that does everything and I just do nothing. So tell us, how does that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as ownership goes, when someone works with me, we ask them right from the very beginning, do you want to be full-time or part-time? Many franchise companies don't allow you to be part-time in the business. They want you to be full-time, 6 to 12 months in the business. So I know that ahead of time. I will not show you a franchise that requires you to be full-time if you want to kind of do it, 15, 20 hours a week. So you want to be clear on the role. As far as your question on, the type of ownership, as far as the role goes, that's going to vary. You have two companies that do the exact same thing. For example, mosquito spraying. One is going to require you to maybe be hands-on and spray a little. And another one may be executive level where you don't touch the chemical ever once. And you're going about talking to the Chamber of Commerce, networking, and going to Earth Day and talking about, hey, these are the dangers of Lyme disease, because they do tick spraying as well. These are the dangers of West Nile virus, education, networking, getting out into the community. So the end product or service is completely different than what the actual role of the franchisee is. And I think you had one more question, and I got so excited with my answer, I forgot what that was.
I think it was just those two. Yeah, that the ideal, just kind of the ideal person, and then the other role. So I think that's
yeah. So
personality type.
Yeah. So personality. Keep in mind, I don't like. I sometimes say this, and I don't mean to say it. It's not really the franchise industry. The industry is home services, and there's franchise and non-franchise. So you still have to be a business owner. There is still risk. I had a call yesterday saying, is there a guarantee? And I'm like, maybe that's not a good fit. So to answer your question, there's still a risk. The odds are in your favor. I don't use stats. Stats are silly in this particular case, because sometimes the franchisor failed. The franchisee didn't follow the system. Whose fault was it? Did they buy the wrong franchise? So I don't go too heavily in stats, but as a franchise owner, you need to accept and understand what the value proposition is. We have built a business for you, and we're going to help you run it. If you want to buy a McDonald's franchise and sell pizza out of that business, you're probably not an ideal. That's a really bad example, but it's one that people can really understand. You're not a good you're not a good fit to be a franchisee, because you're going to kind of butt heads with the franchisor. But that's not to say you can't bring ideas up to the franchisor. That's how the $5 footlong was created or developed, was actually from a franchisee. So
on Subway,
yeah,
you mean?
For Subway. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you live in Canada, they do sell pizza at McDonald's, but that's
only
in Canada.
Okay. Wow. Oh,
it's an individual pizza. And I was floored when I found out that.
Really? All right. I have to change my example then.
But they used to. I don't know if they still do. I haven't been there for about 5 years. So I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, I'm learning every day.
Could have been an idea of a franchisee for sure.
That's funny. Or maybe they weren't following the system, right? They were
just
selling on the side.
Yeah, or maybe they didn't follow the
Now they're in trouble.
Do you think someone, like we talked about the investment, and some franchises, I talked to a franchisor one time, it's like, yeah, you just put the investment in and then you open it up and you make money. And it just happens. But I know like real estate agents, they kind of have that same philosophy. Like, I'll get my real estate license and I'll just start to make money right away. But that's kind of anywhere between a 1 and 5 year journey before you're cash flowing. You have to have money saved up. So would you recommend that it doesn't always happen right away? Like you're saying, within 45 days, someone could have their business opened up, but it could take 3 months because something happened or construction or whatever happens. And do you have to have a nest egg on top of the investment before you get going?
Yes, absolutely. So Brick and mortar is going to take obviously much longer than 45. It's between permits, build outs. It could be 4 to 6 months, up to a year, if not more. Yes, I tell everyone, regardless of the franchise that you end up investing in, have money aside. If the investment is $100,000 and you're going in all in, and that is all your savings, and you have no income, I just say, well, who's going to pay your mortgage? Who's going to pay your rent? Have 6 months living expense. I would rather you have, invest in a smaller franchise, maybe a single territory versus 3 territories. Maybe it's the whole state of New Jersey, just say as an example. I would rather you set yourself up for success, buy into a smaller business so that you can sleep at night, because that business may take a little bit longer, not just to launch, but to become profitable, where you can start taking money out of the business. So have 6 months living expense, whatever that number is. If you're able to keep your job and run it semi-absentee, that's a little bit less of a concern, but factor in a little bit higher startup, because now you may be hiring a general manager for X amount. So definitely figure out what your monthly expense is, what you need to cover it, do your homework. Everyone I talk to, we set you up with a free consultation with our funding partner. They do a full analysis. They tell you roughly what you can afford, kind of like when you get pre-approved for a mortgage or a home, and they'll give you all your options basically available to you. So you have some type of budget. But yes, definitely, you never know what we went through COVID. No one ever expected COVID. A lot of small businesses, brick and mortar were hurt by that. So you definitely want to have funds aside.
That's great. So tell us, how do people work with you? Like if I wanted to, I wanted to invest in a franchise, I don't know which one. Do I just come to you and you walk me through all of it, or tell me kind of how that process works?
Yeah, our process is simple. It's 4 steps. We have an intro call, 20-minute call, and we kind of figure out if franchising is the right fit for you and if we're a good fit. I'm not the only person that does it. So we want to make sure that personality wise, if you don't like my jokes, we probably don't work together, I jokingly say, but you want to make sure it's a very, in all seriousness, a very important decision. So you want to make sure it's a good fit. From there, we send you out a questionnaire, asking some questions. Some questions take a little bit of thought. And then we set up a 60-minute consultation, deep dive, your goals, your motivation for doing this, time frame, investment. If you have partners, husband and wife teams, whoever is going to be involved in that business, we want them on the phone so that they get a good understanding. From that call, we create a model, which is what your ideal business looks like. Pretty cool, right? We create the guide, the roadmap, whatever you want, the blueprint, people call it. And it's essentially, this is your ideal business without naming the product or the brands. And then from that blueprint, I go to work to find franchise companies in the US, both US and Canada, that fit that model. So if you're semi-absentee, your investment range is X, and you want to be located in central New Jersey, we do all that background research for you. It's not to do diligence. It's just to see if these companies are matches. And we typically introduce you to 2 or 3 companies. We introduce you to funding companies as well. And we're with you every step of the way. Should you need any support, and work with you at least up until you invest in that franchise, and ongoing if you ever want to expand your business.
That sounds really cool. And what about, have you run into people who are kind of like serial franchisee owners? So I did know a woman who owns a Curves and a couple Baskin Robbins. So I just thought that was a really weird mix.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
But she liked it. So I love Baskin Robbins.
You're kind of creating your members, right? Like eat ice cream and then go work out.
But have you run into that?
Yeah, absolutely. We so people that are looking there, we call them empire builders, right? That they want to grow these big businesses. It's typically people that either want to stick with one brand that they love. So maybe it's a brand that offers residential cleaning, and they just want to take over a huge market. And then we have others that say, looking down the road, I want to expand. What are my other options? And you can actually stay within your same local market, not having to drive too far, and stack the franchises on top of one another. And what I mean by that is you can have residential cleaning, you can have mosquito spraying, roofing, power washing, the list goes on. And it's a way to stay local in your market and not have to incur a cost to bring on new customers, because your customers are your happy residential customers. So we do get quite a few that are just looking to constantly, they want strategy. Do I go wider, or do I just stay in the territory and stack them? And they want to know any business that complements what's out there. Where can you help me? And I'm not the guy that pitches the hot franchise, just to be clear. I'm the guy that really gets you clear on what a franchise is and if it's a good fit for you. And we reverse engineer. We work in reverse to see what's important to you, what's a best match both personally and professionally for your family. And then we look at the franchises at the end. If you want the hot franchises, I jokingly say, go to Entrepreneur Magazine, and I wish you the best.
And sell really slippers on a kiosk.
Yeah.
And one last thing, the best part of what we do, we don't charge for our service. So we actually get paid directly from the franchise companies, just like a executive recruiter or real estate agent. So there's no fee. You don't pay more or less by using a franchise consultant. You just get a coach to kind of guide you every step of the way.
Sounds like a good way to go. Well, tell us where people can reach out to you.
Yeah. So if you go right to the website, it's GG, because if you look at my name, it's very difficult to spell and even to pronunciate. So it's GG, my initials, the franchise guide, GUIDE. So ggthefranchiseguide.com. You have access to my podcast. I just wrote a book during the pandemic last year, Franchise Freedom. If you click on the book tab, we give everyone a free download, everyone listening in, just to kind of give you a quick roadmap on the franchise journey and process. And there's also my calendar link. So if anyone has any interest or has a general question, or they're stuck and they need some advice, it's a free call, as all the other calls are as well. And you can book a 20-minute call directly with me. You always hear from me. I don't have a staff that's answering questions, so you get my undivided attention.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that link up in the show notes as well as on the screen for YouTube, and people can go there and get your book. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Giuseppe, for stopping by today. I hope you got some great knowledge, everyone, about franchises, how to start one. And that's the best first step, is to go someone who can coach you along the way before you just start stabbing in the dark. So definitely do that. Thanks for coming by. Remember to subscribe to our podcast. And if you're looking to write and publish a book and become a #1 bestseller, we guarantee all of our authors will hit #1. So reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com and hit the submission button, and we'll see if we're a good fit for you. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.